say, oh yes, this chemical does cause cancer and it came from this plant. With the Anacostia River in Washington, D.C., we know it's very, very polluted. It goes right through the historically black communities, and they're trying to clean it up, and and they want to sue people that were individually responsible, or industries that were individually responsible for polluting it, and they have to go and forensically excavate each individual chunk of it and say, okay, this can be traced to there, and then they've got to try to sue them, which can take a really long time. And then you get money, but does money save your life? Does it make up for everything? Not necessarily. And then how do you use that money? And then that's not even at the community level, that's like individuals who can prove that they've been harmed. So it's complicated. That's why it's taken so long, is because that's how it's engineered. Yeah.
Do you think corn
No. You mean food on campus?
Yes.
No.
Oh,
the corn. Oh. You know, every once in a while, a student will do an experiment and grow organic corn, organic bicolor corn. And the sweet corn that we eat is not genetically modified. They do have GMO sweet corn, but chances are that they're not growing that at Fresno State because it would be very unpopular. And so one label to look for is the organic label at Fresno State, which is rare, but every once in a while students are getting more into experimenting with that, which is a good sign. So I would say generally yes, and another misconception about what we eat versus the fact that we live in this agricultural zone is that there's a higher likelihood of getting sick from living in a place where they're producing a lot and spraying a lot of pesticides than it is just to eat it. It's not good to eat it, but the amount of toxics you're getting isn't as high as when you live or work as a farm worker or a neighbor in those producing zones. So I don't want us to like freak out and not eat anything because we're afraid we're gonna die. Like, that's not fun. One, everybody likes to eat, but it is good to be concerned about, the whole process. And, it would be better if all food was 100% organic. But that's another thing that takes a transition time. And so I don't really know if it's safe, but I would eat it, I guess I would say, because I know that it's worse for the people who are growing it or harvesting it. And I'm pretty sure it's not genetically modified, but corn has a really interesting, messy history too. And most of the corn grown in the U.S. is not for us to eat off the cob, it's to feed cows, and chickens and pigs. And that's not necessarily a very healthy diet for those animals, but it fattens them up faster, so you can grow the chicken faster and have the turnaround.
Any more questions? Yes.
This is kind of a hard question, I think, but I am. Thank you for sharing. It was a whole lot, and it is sort of depressing.
Yeah.
Just to be present to the depth and breadth of the truth, as well as the magnitude of what's happening, and especially on low-income Black communities throughout the world.
Yeah.
So it is a global problem. And so in light of that, as an anthropologist, I don't know the adjective you would put before your kind of anthropology. I didn't get that part from you, but what is your theoretical framework or vision to connect the local to the global as you seek to heal communities and heal the world? Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's like you're a doctor too. That's
yes.
Like an advanced question.
I know I said it was kind of a hard question, but I just wanted to put that out there just to hear more.
Yeah. Well, I consider myself a political economist and political ecologist, and that means I'm very interested in how policies affect our health, our environment, and so on and so forth. And so the way I approach that is by I'm a sociocultural anthropologist, and that means that I work with the living. But I also feel like sometimes I do this forensic work of like seeing what things were like in the past, or I've been to graveyards too to kind of see if I can see patterns. So that's what anthropology does. It's looking for patterns both in the past and the present to help us solve problems or address problems. But I'm also, even though I'm studying it, I also put myself in positions to be able to respond to it, or to help to just give information or assistance to communities so that they can do what they want with it. Because I don't know everything, and I'm not from here, and I don't have a right to say, well, you should do this, 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 and this. But I can listen, and listen. People don't listen to each other enough, and that's one of anthropology's major research methods, is just open your ears and shut your mouth. Listen to what people have to say, even if it makes you uncomfortable or challenges where you come from as an individual. So I think actually the work that's being done here is very anthropological in its radicalness, and not all anthropologists are radical. Some work for the World Bank, which is promoting that GMO, pesticide-intensive agriculture in the African continent, but some of us are upset with our roles and disturbed with our roles in assisting colonialism, and so we step back and we think about that history, but we're also really invested in doing work alongside or with communities to address all these problems. And they're big and overwhelming and depressing, but what keeps me going is accompanying my research with that kind of work, so that it at least feels on an individual level that we're moving somewhere, even if it's just a little ant-leg step one way. So, I mean, not all researchers have that philosophy, but that's how I was trained. That's not just by my teachers, but